Good morning, Zimbabwe. My name is Divine Mafa. They call me the Lion of Judah. For whatever reason, this name came because I have nothing not to hide. I tell the truth as it comes. There is a proliferation of young people in Zimbabwe, and they call themselves the generational change. And they are all trying to run for a political position and become MPs. And these young people are a lot, and they are applying to be members of parliament with the MDC party. That's noble because there are some who genuinely want to help their country and pass legislation. But we have to be careful. Are they qualified? Are they worthy the salt? We need to remember that running a country and becoming a legislature is a very complicated business. It requires reading a lot of documents, participating in debates, in being able to understand the law and pass legislation that affects the governing of the country. Now, if you have all these young people who have never had jobs in this Zimbabwean economy, unemployed at 95%, most of them never had a job, are they really trying to help the country, or they're just looking for a way out so that they can make a paycheck? That's your question. I hope you can answer me that question. Whether many of these young people who are claiming to be generational change that is sweeping across Zimbabwe, are we going to trust the entire country with the generational change of young folks who have never had a job, who have never been anything at all, to become members of parliament just because there's a generational change? And then we discard those senior people who have amassed a vast amount of wealth, experience, and knowledge in the governing of the country, and a seasoned mind to sit stably and decide on how to move the country forward. We have a problem, Zimbabwe, because some of these generational changers who are coming, they are not Chamisa. Chamisa got in when he was young. We agree. But it's not the same. Chamisa is Chamisa. If you are thinking you are Chamisa and you want to be a generational changer and end up in parliament, you are not Chamisa. Chamisa is Chamisa. He has done a lot of things. He's a lawyer. He's a pastor. He's a husband. And he has been with the guidance of Morgan Tsvangirai. You, the generational changer, you are not Chamisa. So, my question to Zimbabwe is, I don't really want to see a whole government with a bunch of young people, because we saw that before. As you remember, when Maim Juru was 24 years old, she had the guidance of Robert Mugabe at that time. She was 24, but she was being taught how to read. She had a vast amount of people helping her how to govern. The Minister of Sports and Culture. Do you remember when she banned Shirley Nyanyua because Shirley Nyanyua was wearing this dress and they thought she was going to kill the culture of Zimbabwe? She didn't understand marketing, but she was young. She was coming from Kuhondo. She was a soldier. She had something that she had to enlist. She got something. What do you have to offer Zimbabwe if you are telling me that, somebody who's over 65 years old, he has had his time, he has served his time, and he needs to sit down? When you get that so stubborn, I tell you, Zimbabwe, you're going to regret, because you're going to bring a whole host of very elderly people who are scared, because I am scared. Because I remember when I was looking at Herbert Ushokunze, he was dying of HIV, and I looked at Robgo dying of HIV at Parenyatwa Hospital. Because when they came, they were so young at the age of 33, and they thought they had it all figured out. At that time, there was no treatment for HIV. And They were sleeping with every possible woman they can. And these were educated Harvard graduates. But they were also still too young because the average age at that time was 33 in 1980. They grew. We saw them grow. And by year 2000, if you remember, year 2000, Mnangagwa was about what, 56 years old? So you can't tell me 20 years later, and you have a lot of people vachiti madaraya, asisina basa madaraya, hatudakuva visa madara. But the problem that I'm trying to talk to you, Zimbabwe, is that yes, in 1980, Zimbabwe had 90% of its cabinet was 33 years old at an average age. They did not have any other jobs. They had never had any other jobs in their life. So politics was the job. So they grew up in the job, and we saw them grow up, and we saw them getting old, right? And now we are trying to push them out because they are old. And we are trying to replace them with a bunch of young people who do not have jobs, who have never had jobs, who have never had any experience whatsoever, so that they can fuck the country up some more, right? I mean, I don't know if they will, but I'm just assuming that they don't have any jobs. So what is going to happen to these generational changes 5 years from now? Are they going to have an alternative? Have they ever had a business that they can go back to? Okay, so after 5 years, they maybe win the second term. Then what? Are they going to start beating up people, buying votes, so that they can at least see themselves in power and maybe end up a minister? Because that's the qualification to be a minister. You got to have won a parliamentarian seat, right? So what happens after 15 years? What happens after 20? They will be old too, right on the job, because once you're in a political position, you can muscle yourself up. You can buy people, you can threaten people, you can even kill, abduct, and maim because you have the apparatus, right? So that is the mentality that Zimbabwe has been trained in, not only in Zimbabwe. All other countries do the same. If you see the same problems that we have in Zimbabwe, potholes, they got potholes in Nigeria, potholes, they got potholes in Tanzania. The only country that really doesn't have potholes is South Africa. Everywhere else is the same. So we have a systematic problem in Africa of the fact that we do not have a good system. And now, my only issue here today, I'm not trying to talk about all these other issues that are different in African states, but what I want to point out is that we have to not rush to judgment in error by running to pack up the house with a bunch of young testosterons, right? Because they will start to taste the trappings of money, right? And well, yeah, Namibia has good roads because it depends on South Africa. Namibia was part of South Africa. You're right, Ndlovu. So, Nobu Ndlovu. Yes, you're right. So the trappings of wealth, they start to experience them. They don't have anything. They've never had anything. So the only way they have is, you know, maybe you're a youth organizer in a provincial place, or in Magwegwe, or maybe in Chavalala, or some part of Glenview where you are a youth organizer. Now you want to be an MP, but you have no experience in governing. When you talk about being a member of parliament in Zimbabwe, I want you to be very careful when you go to these primaries. You are talking about people who